Hey y'all, thank you for clicking on this video. If you are here to heal, I really commend you and I appreciate you. And if you are here to relate to one another, you are not alone. I was in the same boat. Shoot, I'm still in the same boat. But this is a disclaimer to explain that this is a series about my childhood and adulthood trauma experiences that were developed from my parents. The purpose is to target a community of women who can relate to my upbringing, my feelings, and my story. This isn't to slander, bash, judge, or harm anyone's character of the parties involved. Through this series, I'm to share my story while doing my best at aiming to please God through this content. I disclaim that I do love my family, and if any of what I share they happen to see, I would only hope that they hear me when I say my story is for me, my healing, and my audience, to help us all get through the things that have caused this trauma. If any other family members watching this get triggered by my story, please remember this is my truth. And sometimes I can hurt someone's feelings due to it not being the other person's truth, or what I say may strike a nerve because it holds truth. In whichever way, this is my perception, and if it is not agreed to, I respect that. As long as the people know their pure intentions, my words shouldn't ruffle any feathers. Me telling my story is no different than a singer singing about their heartbreak or a breakup and singing it to the whole world. So I pray that everyone can heal, mature in their faith, and practice being the person that God has planned for us to be. Hey y'all, we have episode 2 of my vulnerability series. Just as a disclaimer, so you already know what it's for. Same outfit, because it's the same day, different time, different upload schedule. We're gonna get into basically how I felt neglected and abandoned by my father. This isn't really a fun video just because it doesn't really paint my father in the best light, but this really is what I went through. Let's talk about my experience. So if I was to describe my dad in short to someone else, I would definitely say I had a sheltered upbringing, along with him being pretty strict and a jokester and an introvert. Now, if I was to describe my dad to what I know him to be, as I started learning him in my childhood and even adulthood, I would say that my father is a manipulator and a narcissist. These aren't the kindest words, but definitely, I don't even think it's just a feeling. I really think this is true. He's also said it himself, but in ways that it doesn't identify him as a manipulator or a narcissist. One day I remember he asked me if I knew what a narcissist was, and I can't even remember our conversation after that, but I just remember him asking me that, and to know that this is what I really believe he is crazy. He believes in like using people or things. He likes to finesse a lot of things. He tries to generalize using people in a positive light, but the way that he does it to me isn't always positive. It was more so using people only when it benefits you and not the other way around. I noticed that he like threw money at a lot of things. Like, he wasn't really a thoughtful person. That doesn't make him like bad, but that was just a characteristic that I don't know if I really like, you know, cared for or like enjoyed about him. I wish maybe he would have like thought about things a little bit more. When it's time to say happy birthday, like, he believes in taking credit because he's the pappy, he's the dad. When I say credit, when it's my birthday, he wants us to say happy birthday to him, and it's just like, ugh. Okay, I don't really agree with that philosophy, but okay, like, you gave birth, I guess, but what, you know, we just don't agree on that one. He's also very cocky when it came to his looks. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. And then he also was a jokester, like he still is, but he can dish things but can't take it. Oh, I also wanted to add that, like, since my dad was an introvert, like, when my dad wasn't being a jokester or wasn't like disciplining me, he wasn't really like present. He was in his room with the door closed a lot. Like, sometimes even when family would come over, that was the case. Like, he'd probably come down and say hi, but he'd go back upstairs and like basically locked himself in his room. Yeah, never really got to see too much of him, even though he was physically there. And he's also said to me that he wishes he was more present. And I told him it's not too late, but that doesn't matter. Nothing's changed. So since I've kind of like identified him as a narcissist, I just thought I would say why. When I think of a narcissist, I think of like self-absorbed, self-centered. I also think of, you know, manipulative for things that work in your favor. You know, everything of that sort. Let's look it up actually. So it says a narcissist is someone who is overly self-centered and has an inflated sense of self-importance. That's good, because that's, you know, sense of entitlement. Get into it. They may also be vain, selfish, and have an excessive need for admiration. Clock it, because that's what it was given. And then it says lack of empathy. Yep. My dad is very logical. Also, he's not a believer. He doesn't believe in God. No shade to him, but you know, it's for me personally thinking a life without God is a mess. Period. And then it says grandiosity. I don't even know what that means. Oh, narcissists may have an unrealistic sense of superiority and believe they are unique or special. They may only want to associate with other high status people, places, and things. It's not to a T, but I've noticed that characteristic in him. So yeah, I mean, all of these things that I'm reading, it's to the T of what I believe my dad to be, which is a narcissist. And I saw a TikTok today. It was like, once you're a narc, how do you not be a narc? Like, and I saw the comments, they were like, it's a personality disorder. So now I feel like out of luck, like nothing's gonna change ever. And I'm so sad for my dad, y'all. Like, it's crazy. But anyway, let's get into it. So some of the things I noticed, I watched a video basically on kind of like being a child of a narcissistic parent, and she hit it on the nail when she said this. I'm gonna insert it here.
That many people watching this channel have or had a narcissistic parent or parents, and it is a rough ride. You had to silence yourself to grow up like this. You had to shapeshift who you are, who you wanted to be, and what they wanted you to be. You learned to either be useful or stay out of the way or be what they needed you to be. You learned to silence your needs, your preferences, your hopes, your aspirations, and your sense of self. A childhood like this meant bouncing between guilt, fear, sadness, anxiety, glimpses of good days when perhaps things were going well for the narcissistic parent, and even as you grew into adolescence and then adulthood, it was clear that you were either just an extension of them or an inconvenience, and you may have become accustomed to manipulations that would play upon guilt and either manipulative gambits, just such as how much was sacrificed for you, or how you have had it so much easier than they did, or how you owe them so much. Narcissistic parents can run one way or another. One is that they become completely detached and disinterested once you hit adulthood. And that may be because then they have other sources of supply or things that keep them busy.
Yeah, so just like she said, he detached himself as soon as I moved out. I asked him one day to come see my new place. He moved me into my first place, never came by to visit ever again. I mean, I never really asked him to, and our relationship wasn't great then either, so that's kind of like a no-go. But when I was trying to better our relationship in my new place where I'm at now, I said, hey, like, you should come by and see the new place. And he's like, I'll have to fit it in my schedule, and never followed up. You know, I could have followed up, but my dad is not the type to. I was looking for him to have a little bit more interest in an accomplishment of mine, which was finding a bigger place, you know, something more homey. Yeah, that's just an example of, since I moved out, we don't talk. The times that we talk is if I said something that is supposedly damaging his character, damaging his reputation. That's when he wants to talk to me. Other than that, we don't really have any other conversation. Other texts go from him telling me how to dress around him, or telling me, mind you, my sisters are wear very revealing clothing. I don't know if they do it necessarily always around him, but they, and it do seem like it because I've seen them dress around my parents, and it's very revealing. Don't know if they get the same comments, but just pointing it out there. Oh, and then other text goes to, I, don't have medical insurance, and this was at the time when I was 23. I didn't really bother to ask about it, but I definitely felt like, no, like, there was no advance notice about me not having medical insurance. Y'all, here's the chat. Here's the text, okay? So in regards to like detaching himself from my adulthood, I did want to bring up a verse that I literally just found. And not even just found, I read this already because I read almost the whole book of Proverbs. I have 2 more chapters to go, 30 and 31. But in Proverbs 22 verse 6, it says, direct your children onto the right path, and when they are older, they will not leave it. Sorry, y'all, I had messed up what I said, but this verse basically has to do with me basically leaving most of the skills or the characteristic traits that he tried to put upon me. He tried to teach me how to finesse and, teach me how to get what I want. And that just wasn't the type of person that I wanted to be. So I feel that I had to leave what his path was and create one that was more of God, to be honest. I remember him, like, every time he got a new car, oh my God, he's smiling ear to ear. Everybody has to, like, smile with him. And that was the excess desire for admiration. Like, I remember when he used to pick me up from elementary school at the YDP program. He would have new shoes, like, every week. And every kid would hype him up. Ooh, it's Janelle's dad. Ooh, he got a nice car. Ooh, nice shoes, Miss Nice kicks. And like, I could just see his face as if he's a celebrity. Like it's giving that. And I'm like rolling my eyes as a child, but not understanding, why do you care about, just say thank you. And sometimes he would say thank you, but I definitely remember seeing him more so on his real good days when he really feeling himself. That's what it was giving. So yeah, I don't necessarily have an example of this point, but to really sum it up, I realized over time as I got older, but I realized that he cares about his reputation, basically the perfect picture, even though it's a broken story behind it. He doesn't really want to fix the broken story, but I'll have to talk about that in another video. Now I'm going to address some ways in which I felt a little neglected or abandoned in some of the experiences that I had with him. So during the times where he was disciplining me, my dad is the type to discipline you for 4 hours until you understand where he's coming from and until you agree with it. If you disagreed, he could not fathom why. He couldn't understand your mindset. He deemed me as crazy. My mindset was unfortunate. You don't think like society. You're not average, or I don't know, he didn't say not average, but definitely said the other stuff. And he had said those things more and more in my high school experiences or my high school years. So when I would express my feelings about a certain situation or a certain matter or topic, like I said, if he didn't agree with it, he would listen, but what I said at that point didn't even matter anymore. He felt I was wrong, like the way I thought was wrong. And so y'all can only imagine, like, someone telling you that you're wrong all the time, it can almost make you go crazy. You're almost starting to believe that you're actually not right in your head and that you're not regular, So in that whole scenario, I feel like I felt abandoned as far as, like, my beliefs were neglected. What I said was invalid, and that is definitely a source of abandonment, where when I started to think, is something wrong with me? That's when I started to question, like, who I was as a person. And that kind of gives me a little bit of chills, just because, like, I worked so hard to get out of that place. So I'm grateful that I'm very secure in who I am as a woman now. Thank you, Jesus. So even in that, during my childhood and a little bit into my adulthood, I seek so much acceptance from my father because he was my father. Like, I tried to say, oh, like, I like your shoes, or I like your outfit. I tried to be nice sometimes, and sometimes he would say thank you, but other times when he was feeling himself, he'd be like, I know. Like, damn, okay. I wish I didn't say this. Also, you know how your parents have a vision for you? I think this is pretty regular, but they have a vision for you, and then when you're not going down that path they want you to go down, they kind of like either pull themselves back, or they kind of resent you for not doing what they wanted you to do, or, you know, they're down your neck. But he wasn't really down my neck about it. He kind of like started to distance himself when I did not take his advice. So I want to talk about a way where, you know, they say this is a thing on social media where you have a two-parent household, but you still have a single parent. I felt like that was my mother. My mom did a lot of the work for us growing up. We always went grocery store runs with her. Sometimes it was just me and my two sisters eating out with her. We go to the mall with her. Like, my dad was never really a part of those activities. She would say things like he feels left out, but I'm like, why he don't just come? Like, he see me about to go, why he don't just come? I noticed, like, from elementary to middle school, my dad did pick me up from school. He never took me, but he did pick me up a few times, or not, I won't say a few, because if he watches, he gets so upset if I like exaggerate as if he like didn't do anything at all. Let me just specify, he was there, he did provide, and he disciplined. That is what he did as a father, in my opinion. And he was a jokester at times. But I feel as though my mom was doing a lot. Like, she picked us up, took us to school faithfully. I believe, and I never heard it, but I really do believe that they had to have a conversation about, like, low-key, these are your kids too. We need to have a schedule where you pick them up. Because, you know, and I was noticing this as a child, like, why doesn't my dad come to get me? Like, I have two parents, and he did come and get me, but it wasn't like a equaled amount. And maybe I could, you know, misconstrue this, but maybe he had work, or, you know, sometimes, I mean, he did have work. I kind of remember a little bit of his schedule, but I don't know. He also made a comment like, you know, when the garage open, like, when y'all hear the garage open, y'all better be doing something productive or be in bed, you know. Like, basically he was kind of like instilling fear in us to, like, you know, not even feel, for me, I didn't feel comfortable at home. Even when the garage opened, my mom was running around the house trying to, like, act like she was going into her bed. Like, that is not your daddy. Why are you doing that? That's just an example of how I felt like he was instilling fear in me, and I felt like I couldn't even make like little mistakes without him having low-key like a major reaction. The major reaction consisted of him being really stern, agitated. His delivery wasn't the best when he was in that, you know, emotion. I wish he would have just like given more grace, as like with simple things, like he would get on me if I used too many paper towels, or if the water was running too long. Like, examples of, obviously this sounds like pretty minor, but I feel like learning to communicate with the type of child you have is important. So I feel like for me, y'all could have told me, y'all could have lied and be like, we struggling, we ain't got no money, you need to turn that water off. Like, I mean, I'm just exaggerating, but it's more so like, Janelle, you're running this water too long, and I keep having to tell you, if I tell you again the next time, you're gonna have to pay me some money. And that could have been that, because I don't like spending money on y'all, okay? Like, I say that because I remember a time where my mom kept telling me, stop leaving the light on when I'm going to sleep. I always forgot to do that when I was in high school. One day she texted me, she was like, give me $20 because I left the light on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did leave the light on. I sent her the money, and that was that. Like, what can I argue about when when you kept telling me? And it was that simple for me. I don't know. Yeah, it sounds very like minor, but how you communicate with me is very important. Otherwise, I'm not only gonna just shut down, I can probably get a little disrespectful if I feel like you coming at me like a little disrespectfully, just because you irritated and you choosing to come at me like that. was something I did, but we all got to learn how to properly communicate to each other, you know. We can still express our emotions without being disrespectful. I do want to tie this into the verse of Proverbs chapter 29 verse 25. It says, fearing people is a dangerous trap, but trusting the Lord means safety. That definitely goes into, I did fear my dad. Definitely. When he came around, I feel like my energy was tense. So I definitely know that I did fear my dad when I was younger. The last example I would give would be when I was in high school. I had a dance teacher. The dance teacher favored me in the beginning of the semester. She was always telling me, like, you know, show the class how to do this, that, whatever. I also had two good friends in the class. One was the teacher's assistant and one was my homegirl. So my homegirl liked to talk a lot. She kind of gets you in trouble because she talk a lot. But one day she classified the assistant, me, and the homegirl as we was talking, but I knew I wasn't talking, right? So she like kind of put us on the spot in the class, you know, basically saying one of those, y'all have something to say, basically. And I straight up said it wasn't me talking, because my thing is, if you gonna say something, get it right. You know, get it right. But she didn't like that, so she kind of started to treat me a little different, which is fine, because, you know, I felt, you know, a little defensive when you're classifying me with a group of people who are talking and it's not actually me. So when people start to, you know, act different, I kind of match energy. I was going to the back of the class rather than the front, and I was still participating in the class. I just wasn't enthusiastic about it as I used to be. Then all of a sudden, my parents tell me, she starts to call home and ask if everything is okay at home. And I'm like, huh, that was weird. I mean, I might have told them after that, like, yeah, like she called me out for like talking, but I wasn't talking. And then she called my home 2 more times after that. And I think either between one of the 2 more times, she asked me what was wrong. And it had to have been after like twice she had called my home. I was like, I don't understand why you keep calling my parents. Like, I don't get that. And then I said something along the lines of, I think it was, I don't like this class. And my dad was basically like, you don't tell somebody that you don't like the class. And you know me being a kid, I was just like, that was the truth though. That's not even, for me, that wasn't even being disrespectful. I'm just telling you I don't like the class. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta participate. You gotta get the grade at the end of the day. Then a further situation happened where I said I wasn't going to be in the spring show. I was leaning back on a speaker and the speaker was muffled, and I didn't realize it was me. And so she thought I was doing it on purpose. I think she told me to go sit somewhere else, and I did, and I must have had an attitude, and then she kicked me out. But I don't think I gave her any lip back. If I did, I probably said I didn't know I was on the speaker. So she was just tired of me at this point, so she kicked me out of class. So that time she kicked me out, let me tell y'all, home at that moment was hell. I can't even remember the conversation. I had to be on the phone with my auntie, like, you know, getting advice from her. I was literally gonna pack a bag. This is at 15 years old, my sophomore year. I was going to pack a bag because I was gonna run away from home, because this is the part where I feel neglected. I'm telling my parents, my teacher is literally doing stuff almost literally for no reason. Like, almost. I may have given her a little bit of attitude because she kept picking on me. Picking on me for what? I don't know. Like, it started off when she accused me of talking. So I'm like, it wasn't me. But she didn't like when I like told her it wasn't me. So that situation got so much bigger because I felt like my parents were disciplining me. More so my dad, because he did all the disciplining. My dad was disciplining me and not listening to what actually was happening. I feel like I could have been disciplined for like my choice of words and telling someone that I don't like their class. I wish I could remember more of the conversation, but honestly, when I look back at it, I really feel like if I'm telling you that this teacher is really being extra, I'm really asking you to listen to me. Like, I know kids are not always right, but I didn't have a history of being disrespectful with teachers. I didn't have a history of being a bad kid. So that was also like alarming to me, where it's like, why aren't you listening to me? Like, It was really weird. I don't know how long I got put on punishment for. It was a moment that really triggered our relationship and was really bad. Like, when I got the suitcase, my mom was like, no, don't leave. Like, and I'm just like, I stayed because of her. Like, I didn't know where I was gonna go, but I wasn't trying to be over there, okay? So yeah, I'm surprised I didn't really cry. I think that's a good sign. You know, it's something that I can look back at and, like, you know, heal a bit from. But I just wish my parents would have took my word for it. There's no reason that I would lie to them about something like that. And now I feel even more like validated because my cousins also had that teacher and they also had a similar experience with her. However, their parents listened to them, so it was just like, I don't be tripping as much as my parents make me think I do. But yeah, that is the end of this video. These are ways in which I did feel neglected and abandoned. How am I healing from it? Just kind of recognizing that a lot of the stuff, yes, we do need discipline, but a lot of, like, my feelings were valid. Remembering that I'm still a human and that whatever emotion that they did invalidate, I can remember that it was valid. And I don't have a way specifically on how I'm healing from my parents because we still don't have a good relationship, but just with prayers, honestly. And, you know, if I have kids, which I kind of really hope I do just because of the love that I have to give, I can definitely see myself raising my kids to their specific needs. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching episode 2 of the vulnerability series, and I will see you guys in the next one. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying it so far. If you haven't seen the first one, go back and watch that. And of course, I have a bunch of other content on my channel, so you guys make sure to check that out too. See you guys in the next one. Bye.
The sun is shining, it's a new day.